I'm Liam.
I'm Wayne,
You're listening to In Film We Trust YouTube.
a place where we post clips from our recent episode.
All links down below in the description.
And now, on with the show.
And in typical Gallo fashion, a man wants to watch him pee.
Yeah, he almost immediately has a freak out because he goes in. It's a very tight, not cubicle, a pair of urinals.
Yeah.
And he goes to take a piss, and this guy kind of looks over at him, and there's this immediate freak out he has.
Yeah, he's a man on the edge all the time.
All the time, yeah, he just
And
immediately goes nuts.
He says it's so big or something, doesn't he? Which is a weird thing. I don't think anybody would come out and say, but
that's the thing. It's just these weird little things that this dude is freaking out and giving you all this shit, and you're like, "Oh, your dick's very big."
And Billy Vincent does not react to this very well because to be polite in the podcast, he calls him a gay slur starting with an F
Several times.
repeatedly. Yes, and he's saying, "Watch your mouth, watch your mouth." Blah, blah, blah,
Kind of ironically, I thought this kind of, for me, established a theme of the film where a lot of times in it, I don't know if this is because it's written and directed by Vincent Gallo, of course, but there's a lot of moments in the film where he is being a total asshole to people, but they are still complimenting him for some reason.
I have no idea.
If I was the guy in the toilet, I would not be saying anything nice about you if you were doing this to me. I'd be trying to get out
I
of
think
there.
you would leave as quick as possible.
I'd be trying to run out of there.
In the hallway, he meets Layla.
Layla, lovely name.
Christina Ricci.
'Cause
Well,
she-
Vincent Gallo didn't like the name Layla. Or Billy Brown didn't like the name Layla,
No, he
did
doesn't
he?
at all, no.
He wants to borrow some change because he wants to phone home.
Mm-hmm.
And he concocts this story, doesn't he, to his parents on the phone that he's got a wife.
Yeah.
They're coming in to visit, but he can't bring the wife because she's sick.
Yeah, because they don't know he's been in prison. And
No, they don't know he's been in prison.
they don't know he's basically a lowlife because he's trying to convince them that he's a lot better than he is. And like you say, he's got a wife, and he's just creating this charade on the phone. But he's just angry the entire time. He's really ranting at his mum because she's got the TV turned up.
Yeah, I don't like his parents in this, do you?
What?
We'll get to them, but I don't
We'll
like
go into the game. What I thought was kind of shitty of him is that he has a massive go at Layla when he walks by.
After she borrows him money.
Then has the audacity to ask for money for those. Like, oh, I hate you. Oh, can I borrow a quarter for the phone? No, you can't.
I've actually came across people like that.
Have you?
Yes.
Oh, the cheek. Because he's
he's pent up.
He's just out of prison. He's kidnapped this woman. He's in her car, and so he's kind of repeating these things. It's bullshit things because clearly he doesn't drive cars that shift themselves because he doesn't have a car.
Or if he's ever had a bloody license.
Or if he's ever had,
yeah,
because he said he drives a Cadillac.
Yeah, bullshit.
No, he
Wayne.
doesn't have a Cadillac. So, but what I find funny about this,
He even makes her clean the damn window of the car.
he does.
Yeah,
This dude's
he grabs her hand and they clean the
he
damn
grabs
window.
her hands to it, but like I said, being from the UK, because the thing as a shifter, he doesn't know how to drive this,
Yep.
so she has to do the driving. Apparently, Gallo in real life couldn't drive a shifter, neither could Christina Ricci, and he gave her shit for not being able to drive a man. It's like, dude, you're angry at her for doing something you can't even do.
Well, I think, would he not continually berate her off camera?
He would scream at her, apparently.
So she gave I'm assuming, a more authentic performance. I don't know what the authenticity was looking for, but
Would you almost say her performance was kind of downbeat? Because a lot of time it did look, she had that kind of that hound dog look about it, but that makes sense in this scene.
Yeah.
Because of what's happened to
you're
her.
kidnapped.
Yeah, she's just been kidnapped, yeah. No, he hasn't. And he goes, it was against a tree.
Yep, but before he goes for a pee, he says, "Don't move or I'll take a bite out of your cheek and shit you out."
That's a creative insult. I'll give him that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it takes that much thinking to think that.
Probably not, no. I mean, the dude's still angry. The dude's still full of rage.
He does have a lot of relief when he takes that pee, though.
Yeah, he's a lot better afterwards. Does he not even almost kind of apologise afterwards?
Yeah, but it also does set up, in a sense, that the narrative of this film, because she could have easily gone off. There was houses right to the side of where he pulled over.
She could have went over screaming, yeah.
Yeah.
But he does kind of, I can understand from her point of view that he's like, don't do this,
Yeah.
because you've just been kidnapped. I'm guessing this is a new experience to her. So you could think, I could run away, but what if that doesn't work and he catches me?
But you know, when he's apologising to her, which was a great touch, the camera stays on her. It never really cuts to him until maybe the very end of the apology.
While it's in the car.
Because you think in a traditional film, it's like, it's going to keep cutting to him because he's the one telling the dialogue, then it's going to get her reaction and go back to him, then vice versa. But it stays on her the whole time, so all you're hearing is his voice off camera.
I know, I like that though, because it's based entirely around her reaction.
Yeah.
I've seen scenes in films where it focuses on someone who's not talking, and it's great because you can just read on their face what they're thinking in the scene. You don't have to see who's talking because you know who's talking.
And he does explain the situation to her about how he needs to take her to his parents. He's not been home in X amount of years. And he asks her name, and she says Layla. He says, no, that's no good.
No.
And what's the name he gives her?
She has to be called Wendy Balsam.
Wendy Balsam.
Which
will tie in.
It's an interesting name.
It will tie in.
Also, that's not the only thing he tells us. Says she has to love and adore him. You have to act like you can't live without me.
Yep.
That's another one. At one point he says, hold me, don't touch me.
That'll come later, yes.
That sounds like a bizarre song name, actually.
Hold me, don't touch me.
Hold me, don't touch me. Yeah.
Who's that by?
What, country artist? Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But it's. Do you get the feeling almost that's him being kind of an avatar for himself, like wanting people to like him? Do you think Gallo cares that people like him? It almost feels like that's what he's trying to say to the audience. I want you to like me. I want you to adore me for who I am.
Funnily, critics or people have commented that this is an autobiographical film, and he actually stated, he said, only the mother and the father characters are, but people feel that I'm probably playing myself in the film. What I'm actually playing is, I'm playing my father, or what I would have become if I let my father's heavy impact stay in my life. And what I play in the last 5 minutes of the film, which we'll get to, is me on a really good day.
Just saying that makes me that does make me rethink a lot of the film, actually, if he's playing it from that point of view.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is what I'm saying, and I wonder if during our discussion you'll come to maybe appreciate it more, because what you see as maybe annoying character traits, I think you had, there's a reason for them. Which we'll get to. You don't want to blow.
I can see where you're going with this. I can see it in a sense. There are probably going to be things that I'm not going to, because I didn't know that before.
Yeah.
So there's things you're going to say that's I might even say something that you wouldn't have noticed before. So yeah.
Yeah, everybody has their own take on a film, and just because a film director says something, it doesn't make it so. That's only their interpretation.
Considering how much random stuff Vincent Gallo does say.
Yeah, so we can never be sure. But she also states she's vegetarian.
Vegetarian. Again, something that comes up later on.
Odd request for a kidnap victim, Wayne.
It is a very strange, very strange thing. He's just going to start feeding him now.
Yeah.
There is another line in this. I got kind of confused at this. Maybe you'll make something different of it. He said at one point, he's trying to make sure you need to do this right. My parents need to think I'm good. And then he says, you make me look bad, and I'll never ever talk to you again. Please tell me why that would have been a bad thing at this point.
Do you know why? And this is a narrative of the film that I've gathered, right? He's almost got a stunted development, Billy.
Yeah.
He's stuck in his past traumas, and he's got this very childlike view of life. So if somebody says something he doesn't like, he'll attack them in a childish way. He'll call them names. And he's carrying these traumas that he can't deal with. So when he asks people to, he asks her to hold him, and then when she comes to hold him, he can't deal with it, so he pulls away from her. He's almost got a stunted development because he's stuck in the trauma of his past. And I think some of the silly lines, some may think are badly written, it is because it's written from the mind of somebody who's traumatized in their childhood, and they're holding on to childlike beliefs, in a sense.
It's
this is the part because they sit on the porch, don't they? And you can see him. He's physically feeling nauseous at the thought of having to go in.
He has this similar pose where he's usually sat and he has his hands between his legs, and he kind of pulls himself in, like he's kind of constricted. Which
I'm saying, there's a scene later, he almost constricts himself, so he bows over almost in the fetal position all the time, because he's almost like, he's got this childlike innocence in a way. But here's the other scene when they're out of the bathtub. There's a scene, and he's just lying on the edge of the bed. He can barely lie beside her. He's like edged off, and there's a jazz score comes on in the background, and their movements are synchronized to the jazz. Maybe that's a musical aspect, Wayne.
I suppose so. I suppose you throw a song in now and then, you can call it a musical, yeah.
And she puts her hand out for him.
Is that when it's like a very kind of brief finger touching thing? Yeah.
And then he does he curl up into the fetal position beside her?
He is lying in even I think when it gets to the point where they're kind of together, he is kind of fetaled up against he's not like lying up against her chest.
He's always like a little child, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's not making they don't even look at each other. He just constantly curled down, yeah.
Do you think at this point he's attracted to Layla, or he's fixated on her in like a motherly role?
I think so, almost like a kind of surrogate mother position.
Because it's almost like the little boy in the bath, she's sitting on the bath he curls up into her on the bed. It's almost like a little boy, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems more
Like
like
like he needs to be nurtured.
seem more like he wants to express himself, but he's just emotionally incapable of doing so.
Yeah.
And that's why he's going about it this way.